Oh God, there it is. We're about to get to the best one. There it is. Everybody's favorite. Yeah, that last one's kind of homosexual. Nobody wants to hear the Vandy Fight song, do they? I don't. I don't even think they do. Ugh. Boy, I tell you what. Oh, hang on.
Completely hopelessly lost in the vast and labyrinthine recess of the Mammoth Cave.
Y'all know what time it is.
Welcome, boys and girls.
I was lost completely.
Welcome, boys and girls.
I was lost completely.
Welcome, boys and girls.
That'd be a big welcome, boys and girls, to everybody. It is Friday night, and I hope to God you guys can hear me. Hashtag professional. Let me know if you guys can indeed hear me. You should be hearing me just fine. The real question will come when I get my boy Joel Hartley in here, which won't be long. We'll get him in here. We'll get you in here just a second, Joel. He's in the background. He's backstage right now waiting on this rookie. So as long as when I pull him in, if I can hear him, shit, we'll be doing good, especially if both of us, if me and you can hear him. We hooked up on here a little bit earlier to make sure everything was copacetic and we could hear each other, and we could. Now the test is, since we're here live, can we hear each other? So let me tell you guys who I got tonight. If you're not, if you didn't read the post earlier, got a unique individual here tonight as a Tennessee fan. Everybody remembers the play, you want to call it, a few years ago down in Gainesville at the Swamp. Game's tied, few seconds left. Looks like we're going to overtime. Felipe Hot Dog Franks drops back. I think there's just a few seconds left. Everybody called it a Hail Mary, but it was not a Hail Mary. It was a design play that they worked to perfection, and our defense sucked ass. Caught it in stride, touchdown, game over, basically. And the rest, as they say, is history. Now, you guys saw that on TV. Everybody saw it on TV. With the best shot of that play, and I wish I could play the play for you on here, but probably SEC wouldn't like. I don't know if SEC would mind or not, because that's a private shot. Anyway, I can't play it through StreamYard. If I can, don't know how to. But you guys remember the play. Go to YouTube, and I'll drop the link later. And this guy here had the best shot of that play, period. Follows. It's almost like he knew. It's almost like Florida called him over and said, hey, here's what we're going to do. And he followed Tyree Cleveland all the way down the field. Got the catch perfect, ran through the end zone, got the celebration and all of it. One of the best video shots I've ever seen on a play like that. So if you guys would say hello to my new Gator buddy, one Mr. Joel Hartley. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Can you guys hear Joel okay? Let us know. If you can hear Joel and you can hear me, this show has started off with a bang. And you guys know how things usually roll around here. Somebody's going to let me know. Can you hear us? JT, Snake, Matt, BW, all you guys? All right. Good deal. They say they can hear us. All right, Joel, for the people that don't know who you are and what you do, take as long as you want and introduce yourself. Tell your life story if you want to, or tell what you did the last 5 minutes. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, like I said, my name is Joel Hartley. I've been a videographer for a little over 20 years. I did a little bit of it in college, but I was more into radio then. Then a good friend of mine Took over as assistant news director at the ABC station in Gainesville, Florida. Had some openings for videographers. Asked me if I wanted one, so I became a news photographer I did that for about 10 months or so. Then the sports guy left. I moved into the sports photographer position, did that for about 5 years. And then I left that and went to work for the Marion County School System in their video department, just south of Gainesville, and then got into doing freelance work. So even after I left the TV station, I still went back and shot Gator football games for them. And then I got into the freelance work. So since 1999, I think I've been at all but I was trying to think today. I think it's 3 Gator home games. One because I was at the funeral for my grandmother. One, I was in London doing a freelance job covering the Saints and Chargers at Wembley Stadium. And then
Nice.
a couple of years ago, CST didn't need me to shoot. My buddy had a spare ticket to the Texas A&M game. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to kick back and watch this one from the stands.
So do you travel? Do you go to the away Florida games, or are you just down there in that wet place?
Not as much as I used to. When I was at the TV station in Gainesville, WCJB, we would travel to Jacksonville. We would travel to Tallahassee. Basically anything in the state of Florida. We would go to Knoxville. Been to Knoxville for 2 or 3 games. I've been to a game in Columbia. I've been to Baton Rouge, but not with TV20. I was there. I was actually, a friend of mine worked setting up the set for College Game Day, and I was there in '97 when they upset the reigning national champions, tore the goalpost down, and tried to bring out the Lee Corso outside the stadium because he had picked Florida to win that game. Been to Auburn, never been to a game at Bama, never been to a game in Kentucky, never been to a game at Vanderbilt. Thinking I might go to a game in Vandy this year if there is college football. Right now, who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, I've been to Miami, Tampa. Like I said, usually the cocktail party in Jacksonville, although I haven't been the last few years.
Did you mention Neyland in there anywhere?
Yeah, I've been to Knoxville. I've been to Neyland Stadium.
I just wanted to hear you say it again. That's
2
all.
or 3 times. And there was one time that you guys probably don't want to remember that game. We chatted about that via text earlier.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Believe me. Before we get to that, were you there working, or were you were you on the sidelines?
Yeah, I was on the sideline.
Okay.
Florida goes to Tennessee in even numbered years. So I was there in 2000 and 2002. I think were the 2 trips to Neyland Stadium.
I got a super chat from Captain Trips. Thank you, sir. He says, could Joel show and tell some of that wonderful sports memorabilia before the show ends? Thanks, BB. I'm sure he can.
Sure.
We'll get to plenty of stuff for you Gator fans. I know we got a few in here, probably some that may ask questions, some that may not. I've got a few things down here that, of course, I want to know. I think you mentioned at the beginning, you've been at this 20 years?
Yeah, just over 20.
Can you remember your first ever game on the sidelines? Knock it off, Bama Marine, damn it.
I don't remember the first one for sure. I know I shot 2 with the TV station in 1 or 2 in '98. TV20 always had 2 credentials, 2 photographer credentials, one for their sports photographer, and then one of the news guys would get the other pass, and we rotated. There were 2 or 3 of us that wanted to shoot games, so we would get a couple of games a year. I honestly do not remember the first game I shot. It was during the '98 season, but I don't remember who it was. And then from '99 on, I was there. Like I said, I tried to think of it today. I think only 3 games Gator home games have I missed being on the sideline since '99.
Man, I tell you what, that's pretty impressive stuff. I know how loud it is down there. I've been to the swamp a couple of times. Sitting up high, I can only imagine what it's like down there on the field. Another super chat from Celine Driver, who is a Florida fan. Thank you for Thank you for having a quality guest associated with the highest quality program in the country, the Florida Gators. Welcome, Joel. And I distinctly told Celine Driver no drinking before the stream tonight. Apparently, he didn't listen, but that's okay. He's a regular on here. So, no, Fireball, I'm not drinking beer. You should know that by now. This is Pib Extra, or Extra, as they say around here. Are you from Florida, or did you move down there from somewhere else? I know you told me earlier before we got on here that you played down there.
No, I grew up just outside of Gainesville, small town. I was born in Ocala, where I live now. Grew up in a small town called Williston, just out, kind of halfway between the two. Went to the University of Florida, graduated in class of '94, and I've been here the whole time. It's nice. I like it. I've thought about going some other places, but never found anything that was enough to pull me away from my family.
I hear you. Let's see. I know people are going to know this. How many times, and can you remember your most memorable time getting run over on the sideline?
I have actually been really lucky. I've had very few collisions. I posted one to my YouTube channel today. You were saying that you don't think you can show that stuff. I don't know if you remember 3-4 years ago, I guess it was, Florida lost to Georgia Southern at home under Will Muschamp.
Yep.
And it's the infamous play where two Gator players run into each other and start blocking each other. Don't realize who they're blocking. They just hit the guy in front of them. Well, those aren't the only two Gators who ran into each other, because at the end of the play, Solomon Patton, running an end around, comes out of bounds, and I couldn't tell which way he was going. Normally, I back away from the field, but because of his angle, I thought, well, maybe I should step towards the field and let him go behind me. But he was off balance and kind of stumbling, and I'm like, which way do I go? And ended up getting run over. Fortunately, I got about 40 pounds on Solomon Patton, so it didn't hurt too much. Another time I got hit was the season opener in '08. University of Hawaii came to town. And Tim Tebow runs a read option the other way away from me. Play breaks down. He turns and comes back, and he's coming right at me. I'm looking through my camera, and I'm thinking, this is going to be a great highlight. He's coming right at me. 2, don't let Timmy hit you. I mean, we're talking about a 225-pound quarterback who can run through a brick wall. I'm like, don't let Timmy hit you. And normally what I do, the camera's on my shoulder. I'm looking through this eye. This eye's closed. But when a play comes toward me, I'll open this eye up and kind of look around to see what's going on. But I got so tunnel vision. I'm like, Timmy, don't let him hit you. This is a great highlight. That as he dove at the pylon right by my feet, as he dove, I saw Brashton Satelli from University of Hawaii linebacker. I saw him flash through really quick. And, you know, your brain works so much faster than things actually happen. I saw him go through. I'm like, oh, crap, this is going to hurt. And he ended up taking my legs out. Fortunately for me, there was somebody from the University of Hawaii. I don't know if it was an athletic director, somebody from the athletic department was next to me and kind of put their hand out and caught me by the back and slowed my progress to the ground down. That's the one that hurt the most. That one kind of banged my knee up a little bit. Solomon stepped on my foot. I actually was laughing about it when I got up, because I told my buddy next to me that was also shooting. I'm like, hey, I kept rolling through the whole thing. So on my YouTube channel, you see the play, you see the replay, and then you see what it looks like from the guy that gets run over.
So you've never had to be taken to the tent to get looked at after a crash or anything like that?
No, I've been fortunate. There was a high school game where the water boy had taken a knee right behind me to watch. And when the play came out of bounds, I didn't know he was there. I went to step back, kind of stumbled over him, kind of wrenched my back a little bit. But no, I've never been knocked out of a game.
Those are some of the nastiest hits that you've ever seen. Sometimes in these games are photographers and videographers, and you know, just all kinds of the people standing on the sidelines that aren't part of the game. When you know how it is when you're filming a game through that camera, you're not really paying attention to much of anything around you, and you kind of get engaged in the game and don't realize they're coming at you. You kind of mentioned that earlier, so you see it a lot.
the worst part, because the camera sits on my right shoulder and I'm looking through the eyepiece, the worst is when it comes from my right side. Because, like I said, if it's coming from my left, I can open my other eye as the play's coming towards me and kind of look around and go, okay, who's where? But if it's coming from my right, there's this big camera that blocks my vision completely.
Right.
And there was a South Carolina game in Evansville where the quarterback rolled out my way, and I'm looking with my left eye. I'm like, okay, nothing's happening here. And he throws the ball out of bounds, and all of a sudden from my right flashes the tight end right in front of me. And this was a dude that was like 6'6", 6'7", 250. I mean, this was a big guy. And he was at a full run trying to get to the ball. And if I had been 2 steps further forward, he would have gone right into me. So I got really lucky that time because he came from my right, and I never saw him until he was literally flashing right in front of my face.
What's the absolute biggest game you've ever worked on the sidelines, pro or college?
That one right there, Super Bowl. What was that? 44. Yeah, Super Bowl 44 when the New Orleans Saints. Actually, I've been to 3 Super Bowls. I shot that one. I was on the field. The first Super Bowl, I never saw the field of play. Second Super Bowl, I was in a tent outside the stadium watching it on TV. Then we went in after the game was over and did some stuff on the field. The third one in 44, which is 10 years ago, down in Miami when the Saints won. CST, Cox Sports Television that I work for, based out of New Orleans, is the Saints home network. So I spent a week down there covering the Super Bowl and actually got to shoot it on the Colts sideline.
I haven't forgotten you guys. There's a couple of super chats there. Didn't want to interrupt him. Let's see. Captain Trips again, who is the fastest gator you've ever seen? And well, thank you, JT, for the thumbs up. He didn't have a question. He just said thumbs up. So thank you, sir. Fastest gator you've ever seen?
It would be hard to top Jaquez Green. He was so quick. I remember I wasn't doing TV at the time. I was doing radio, and I was in the press box. They were playing South Carolina. And he was kind of the third receiver. There was Ike Hilliard, Reedell Anthony, and Kwesi was kind of the slot guy. And generally the slot guy gets a safety, not the corner. And there wasn't a safety in the country that could run with this guy. They threw him a little pass. He catches it, and the defender kind of squares up on him. And I'm thinking to myself, like, don't let him outside. Do not let him outside. You got to maintain out, push him back to the end. Well, Kwesi gave the guy a fake. He stepped in. Kwesi got the corner, and it's over. He was crazy fast. I mean, there have been a lot of guys, Riley Cooper, that played for Urban Meyer, really fast wide receiver.
I thought Demps wasn't Demps one of the fastest skaters ever?
Demps, Rainey, John Capel actually went to the Olympic trials. Actually, no, I think he went to the Olympics. He was a mismatch nightmare. He was a running back from, I believe, Pennsylvania. And Steve Spurrier recruited him, wanting him to be a wide receiver because Spurrier wanted those fast receivers. And Spurrier told the story that Joe Paterno, who was also recruiting him, said, Steve, don't move him to receiver until you watch him run the ball. And I remember I was shooting a game. This was around 2000, 2001. Florida opened the season, or one of the early season games was Ball State. And Spurrier lined up John Capel at full – or I'm sorry, it wasn't John Capel. It was Bo Carroll. John Capel did go to the Olympics. Bo Carroll lined him up at fullback and got a mismatch on a linebacker. And it was a little wheel route out of the backfield to Bo Carroll. He couldn't be caught. Bo, I saw take a kickoff back for a touchdown. Capel, like I said, went to the Olympics. Demps and Rainey. Actually, I was going through some videos just this week. You were asking if I had some more videos to show. And I had this great soundbite from Coach Dooley, former Tennessee coach. He was talking about, we had the play locked down, and they throw this little dump pass off to Chris Rainey. He's like, Christ, he comes out of there like he's shot out of a cannon, and the play's over. And
yeah.
Rainey could fly. Demps could fly. I mean, it's Florida. And, I mean, that's why Tennessee and everybody else comes to recruit the state of Florida. There's some serious wheels in this state.
Yeah, Dooley was a lot better at sound bites than he was at coaching. We all know that one. Did you get to meet Spurrier?
Oh yeah, I got to talk to Coach Spurrier a
Give
lot.
me give us some kind of Spurrier story. You got to have a story. Come on now.
Anybody that's ever dealt with the head ball coach has got a story. One of the funniest things he ever said, I was still in college, I was doing radio, and not to bring this up, but 94, Florida goes to Knoxville, shuts the Vols out 31-0. Late in the game,
Yeah, I know, I was there.
Yeah, Tennessee gets a first down or first and goal, and Spurrier told his defensive coordinator to put the first team defense back out there. He wanted the shutout, and they push him back. Tennessee settles for a field goal attempt and misses it. The following week at the weekly press function on Tuesday, somebody asked Coach Spurrier about putting the first team defense back out there. And, you know, he had been called a run-it-up thug because he would put 50 or 60 on people when he could. And he said, yep, I guess I'm going to be accused of running a score down this time. The entire media group just lost it. He is cocky. He is arrogant. He is a jerk. But he is so much fun to cover because he's so good at what he does. And unlike other coaches, if he thinks he's going to beat you by 45, he's not going to say, well, maybe we've got it. No, he's going to tell you, I'm going to beat him by 45.
He definitely didn't hold anything back.
What was that?
I said he definitely didn't hold anything back. I don't know if he's the one that coined the phrase and something about our job is to score points. Their job is to stop us. I think it was him to say something like that. 'Cause I never had a problem with Spurrier running the score up.
Philip Fulmer said that kind of in reverse. He said, you know what? It's my job to keep him from scoring. Quit accusing him of running the score up. Get mad at me because I couldn't stop him from doing it.
Yeah, everybody just assumed that Fulmer and Spurrier hated each other. They were actually, they weren't best friends by any stretch, but I think they were more friendly than people wanted to realize. What choice did Fulmer have, really? I mean, kicked his ass all them years. It's getting old.
I noticed one of your folks asked if I know Mr. Two Bits. I don't know him personally, but I met him a couple of times, interviewed him, did a couple of stories with his real name's George Edmondson, passed away
I was going to say, I thought he passed away, yeah.
Passed away. He retired from being Two Bits, and for about 4 or 5 years now, they've brought in an honorary Mr. Two Bits. Comes out in the trademark yellow shirt, orange and blue tie, does 2 bits before the game. But George was around until, I think he passed away right at a year ago. And last year was the first time that he wasn't around. But yeah, I saw somebody asked if I know him. I've met him a couple of times.
Thank you.
And the crazy thing is, he's not a Gator. He went to the Citadel. He was down in the 50s, I believe, visiting some friends at a game. And he said, this is kind of dead. And he stood up and he tried to get everybody excited. And he is an honorary Gator. I mean, he is orange. He was orange and blue through and through. Gator fans love him. He's an icon, but he's actually not a UF graduate.
Yeah, I think I know why JT asked that question. Thank you for the super chat, LSU Scooter. He wants to know, why is Tennessee's uniform so much prettier than Florida's and LSU's? No, actually, that's not what he said. He wants to know why are Tennessee and Florida's uniforms so ugly. Actually, Scooter, to me personally, the only really ugly uniforms in the SEC is Vanderbilt. I think they're just drab and ugly. But if you want to answer that, you can, Joel. That's kind of a yuck question.
Yeah, uniforms are uniforms. I will tell you that 2 years ago when Florida wore the alligator skin uniforms against Texas A&M,
yeah.
Oh no.
What about the white helmets? I know a couple of my Florida buddies hate those uniforms when they wear the white helmets with the big F on it.
It's not as bad as it could be. The first time they wore the white helmets was, I believe it was 2006 against Alabama. They wore basically a throwback. It was a modern version of the uniform worn by Spurrier back in '66 when he won the Heisman. And since then, they've kind of evolved that a couple of times. They've got the white helmet with an F. They've got the white helmet with the script Gators. I don't hate that. The alligator skin uniforms that they wore against A&M, no. No.
Those, whatever the hell they call them, the words escaping me right now. All the teams do it. The specialty uniforms. Some of those things are either really gorgeous or really bad, just like a total bad idea. Like those.
I'm a big traditionalist as far as uniforms. I don't mind a change if it's a positive change, but wear 1 or 2 uniforms a year.
Yeah. Well, I think we're a lot alike in that department. I don't like all the change. Like I guess if I was an Oregon fan, I probably wouldn't mind it, but I would hate to see our SEC team start doing like Oregon. But that's, you know how it is, Joel. That's the way these young kids are. They like that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's why they wear those uniforms.
Yeah.
To appeal to the recruits and get something exciting. But Oregon, number one, it hurts my eyes. And Tennessee's orange is bright, but that yellow that Oregon wears is a whole different level.
Yeah.
They wear the silver, the chrome helmets. I mean, and they never wear the same thing twice. They're basically Nike's Barbie doll, and Nike gets to dress them up however they want. They're distinctive. Everybody knows it's Oregon, but you never know what Oregon's exactly going to look like either.
I know what they're going to look like if we have football this year. Everybody says they're going to look like a playoff contender, but we'll see. I've already asked you about the biggest game. What's the worst game you've ever attended or worked?
I never thought about that. I worked a Florida-Georgia game. I think it was 2000 or 2001, somewhere right in there in Jacksonville, in an absolute monsoon. I mean, it poured, and I didn't have my rain gear. I had my rain gear from my camera with me, but my rain suit was across the field, and it came up out of nowhere. So I'm frantically trying to put the cover on my camera to protect the camera. I didn't have time to go get my raincoat or my rain pants, and I was soaked through. It got so wet that my camera actually worked without being turned on. Even with the cover on, I turned it off, switched batteries, and a play was about to happen. So I threw it back up on my shoulder, saw a picture, and I started shooting. And I noticed a couple of plays later, something didn't seem right. The camera was actually turned off. There was so much moisture, it was jumping the on-off switch. So the circuit was. It took a couple of days to dry the camera out after that. I'm fortunate that it didn't mess the camera up. And that was with the rain cover on the camera. It was coming down that hard.
I guess you can see it down there below. Thank you again, Captain Trips. He wants to know what's the loudest moment you've ever heard in the swamp. And I watched your clip of Burrow throwing the pick six yesterday. That was pretty loud. I don't know if that was matches loud. Anything, but
that was loud. P. Ryan's touchdown run last year against Auburn was loud. Obviously, the Hail Mary, I call it the heave to cleave. 2 years earlier, the Antonio Callaway 4th down play. But for my money, nothing tops 3rd and 10, 93 against Florida State. Florida had gotten within a touchdown, stuffed the kickoff return, knocked down the first down pass. 2nd down, knocked down that pass. 3rd and 10, all the momentum's on Florida's side. This is the 93 Florida State team that would go on to win the national title. Charlie Ward, Warwick Dunn. It was thunderous. I was on the sideline as a radio reporter, and you could feel the sound. I mean, it literally, you could feel the sound pressing down on you.
Yeah.
And that was the play. Charlie Ward got out of the pocket, tossed it to Warwick Dunn. He took off down the sideline for the clinching touchdown. The saying, you couldn't hear yourself think. It was unbelievable. After the game, Spurrier mentioned how loud it was. And in the locker room, I interviewed Monty Grove, Florida linebacker at the time, and we asked him, Monty, what was it like on 3rd down? And he just kind of, his eyes glazed over, and he's like, I didn't know human beings could make that much noise.
Yeah, it's
93 Florida State. I was at the 97 Florida State game, and it was loud. But I don't think it was 93 Florida State loud.
I've always said that the loudest place I've ever been outside of Neyland was the swamp. The 2 times I was down, the first time was a lot louder than the second. I think maybe it was just because I was expecting it. That place is loud, and you guys get to jingling those keys, and just a lot of youngins at that game, and they make it well worth the noise, if you want to say that. Celine Driver, thanks again for the super chat. He says worst game ever was any game coached by Will Muschamp. He loves to call him Moose Dump.
Yeah, Muschamp.
Not a big Florida favorite, huh?
No. He said all the right things, but he talked about how the offensive line was so key. Yet when he left Florida, I think there were 6 offensive linemen on scholarship, and he had talked about how you need 13 to 15 offensive linemen. And he came in and took over Urban Meyer's spread personnel. You mentioned Demps and Rainey and their speed.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a between the tackles, I formation offense with those guys. Then he goes out and he recruits his personnel and gets Fred Taylor's son, Kelvin, gets Hunter Joyer, an absolute road grader of a fullback, and decides to go to a one-back shotgun. I'm like, you had your one-back shotgun personnel when you started and ran the I. You recruited I players and went to a one-back shotgun, and just he never seemed to use the talent the right way. Excellent defensive coach, great defensive coach, good recruiter. I saw him his first trip back to Gainesville as the South Carolina coach. The players were lined up to give him hugs after the game. The players loved him. Head coaching, not so much.
He's doing all right, or was doing all right at South Carolina until the wheels fell off there. I don't know. Don't know if he's going to be able to recover. That's a tough place to maintain success. No one has. I really thought Spurrier, would. I'm not going to say I thought he would win him a championship, but I thought if anybody had a chance, it would have been him. But I think just down the stretch there, he got too uninterested, I think. That just my opinion. I didn't know the guy, obviously. Who knows? I've already asked you that. Favorite Gator player?
We're talking football or all sports?
Yeah, just football. If you have a favorite Gator outside of football, A, I would be surprised, but B, you're welcome to mention them.
Well, I mean, I've seen so many of these guys play. And
meeting them is different, isn't it? When you're around them, it's a lot different than just
when you're
a casual fan.
Yeah, play, and then when you talk to them,
yeah,
every day at practice and after games, things like that. I'll tell you, one of the nicest is David Eckstein, former shortstop, Major League shortstop, won a couple of World Series titles. He was World Series MVP with the Cardinals. Really, really good baseball player. Really great story. Was told even by his family, look, you can't play at that level. Go to a junior college. Nope, I'm going to walk on at Florida. Left as runs scored, hits, all kinds of records like that. No power, but he could hit. He could get on base. He could score runs. Went to the minors. Everywhere he went in the minors, you're too little. You're too this. You're too that. You're never going to make it. He just kept making it. Eventually made it to the majors. Won 2 World Series. Was a World Series MVP. And just as nice a guy as you can possibly meet. Football, Tim Tebow, I mean, he's a legend, also a nice guy.
He's a generally nice guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a really nice guy. But Tebow, everybody's like, oh, he's such a great guy. He's such a great guy. And he is. But being on the field, being up close to him, he's a borderline psychopath. He will put you in the hospital. He'll come to the hospital and visit you and pray for you. But between the whistles, he's going to go where he wants to go, and you probably shouldn't get in his way. I think Eric Berry played for Tennessee, and they had a collision in Gainesville.
Oh, I was just thinking of that one.
Eric Berry said, I loaded up, and I hit him with everything I had. And the first thing I thought was, oh, my God, he got me. I mean, when you've got Eric Berry hitting the quarterback, and then he's saying that the quarterback hit him harder than he hit the quarterback, you're talking about a heck of a football player.
Oh, I'll never forget that, man. It looked like they both had knocked each other out. I mean, Tebow is bigger than Barry, but still, like you said, Barry had all the momentum, and that's a legendary. That wasn't a hit. That was a collision.
Yeah.
They should have called their insurance agency after that. I already asked if you met Spurrier.
There's several other guys. Another guy that I really love, and Tennessee fans remember this guy, Lawrence Wright, had the big hit on Joey Kent. Lawrence, an incredibly nice guy.
Oh, he about killed Joey.
At the same time, and I would run into him on campus and just kind of joke around with him. Really friendly guy, good football player, but the vast majority of them are good guys. I mean, every now and then there's a jerk. Every team has, I mean, you've got 85, 90 college-age guys. There are going to be some jerks. But for the most part, really friendly, really nice guys, really approachable. And I've been lucky. I've dealt with a lot of really talented football players and baseball and basketball players, but also very friendly. And
I say,
hey, you got a minute, they'll always give you some time.
You probably had your share of jerk-offs you've met too. I mean, I know you probably don't want to call them out here, but in all those years, you've had to have met some real assholes.
Yeah, there have been some that were a little difficult to deal with, but for the most part, in college, because there's a sports information department kind of coaching them up, saying, "Hey, look, I know you're not in a good mood, but give these reporters 2 or 3 questions, just let them get something." Very rarely have I run into a Gator player that was a jerk. Once they get to the professional level, there's not as much coaching or shadowing that the media relations people do, and then they can get to be a little bit more surly. But even then, for the most part, they're usually only in a bad mood after they lose a game. I mean, and even after, a lot of times after they lose, they'll still talk. But
right,
lucky, I've had very few jerks that I've had to deal with in the media.
Let's see. I'm saving that one. Who's your favorite NFL team?
Miami Dolphins. It's been rough lately.
So you're obviously been around long enough to remember Marino and all the so close moments with him.
He is, in my opinion, the best thrower of the football
ever
in NFL history.
Yeah,
I mean, Drew Brees is great, but as far as getting the ball from his arm to his receivers, yeah, you can say he never won the Super Bowl, so he's not in the argument for greatest quarterback. But simply throwing the football, and I've talked to a few players, a few receivers that played with him, and they kind of said the same thing. It was Lamar Thomas that played at the University of Miami, went to Buchholz High School in Gainesville. I asked him one time, what's it like catching passes from Marino? And he just shook his head. He said, man, they're never off. He said, when you come out of your break and you turn, the ball's there.
Yeah.
If it's 6 inches from where it's supposed to be, everybody kind of stops and looks and says, Dan, are you okay? Like, he never misses. But, yeah, it was frustrating watching early in his career. He goes to the Super Bowl against Joe Montana. This is going to be great. This is a dynasty. Never got back.
Not sure who you're talking about there. Looking at somebody in the comments there. I know you talked about your loudest moment at the Swamp. What's the loudest stadium you've ever been in, period? And that can be either on the sidelines or in the stands, just the loudest stadium you can think of that you've ever been in.
Florida Field is probably number one. The New Orleans Superdome, I was there for a Saints playoff game. It can be incredibly loud. I mean, obviously a dome stadium, it kind of focuses all the sound. Neyland's loud. I'll tell you the place that I've been that is not, in my opinion, not as loud as everybody says, and this is going to tick off some people on the Bayou, but it's Death Valley. Like I said, I was there in '97 when they beat Florida, the reigning national champions. College game day was there. They tore the goalpost down. They were bringing him out to Corso. I was on the field. LSU's up 7-0. Doug Johnson throws a pick. They almost return it for a touchdown. And I'm on the sideline, and it's loud. I'm not saying it's not loud. But the guy next to me turned and said, wow, this is so loud. I'm like, what? I said it was so loud. I'm like, yeah, I heard you. We wouldn't have this conversation at Florida Field. If the roles were reversed, you would not be able to hear me right now. And I think part of it is Death Valley kind of goes like this, and Florida Field goes more like that. So I think the sound gets trapped a little bit more at Florida Field. They may make more noise on the Bayou, but it doesn't seem, at least in my opinion, it doesn't seem to stay on the field like it does at the Swamp. I lost you.
Yeah, that's my bad. I think there's a one thing that helps Florida is there's a lot of exposed concrete
Yeah.
like that stadium's just weird the way it's laid out.
It is. You're right. There's a few places where the upper deck kind of sticks up, so there's that wall to bounce the sound back in, whereas Tiger Stadium doesn't have that. It's more of an open bowl. So yeah, that may have something to do with it, and just the way some of the overhangs kind of trap the sound. But yeah, it's not where it was under Spurrier back in the
I don't know that they'll ever match that.
That place was thunderous.
It was on a different level. Jeff, did you just show up? Jeff Webster, my buddy Jeff Webster just showed up in the comments. He's the other videographer that I was telling you about earlier that works up in Iowa.
Yeah, I see. He's been there twice, and it's not as loud as they think it is.
Right.
I'll tell you one cool thing about it, though, is right outside the stadium, you've got the football stadium and the Maravich Assembly Center where they play basketball. And on the grounds of the Assembly Center is Mike's enclosure, Mike the Tiger. They have a real live tiger in a big, it's not a cage. I mean, it's a good size area like you would see at a zoo. And he's a cat. And cats lay around and sleep. So most of the time, Mike just lays there and takes a nap. But on game day, there's too much activity. It's too loud. He can't get his nap, so he gets agitated. And I saw him walking back and forth.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, he's walking back and forth, and every now and then he'll snarl. And it's not very loud, but it's loud enough for the people there nearby to hear, and they go nuts. Then the people that can't hear Mike snarl hear everybody down by his enclosure cheer. Oh, Mike must have snarled, and they'll hear. And it's this sound goes out from the enclosure. Then they put him in this little cage, wheel him into the stadium. Stadium's loud. They jam a microphone up, and at that point, he growls. And you want to talk about a bunch of crazy Cajuns? When Mike growls in the stadium,
oh, I can imagine.
Absolutely lose it.
Well, I wasn't going to mention this. I wasn't going to ask, but since we're talking about tigers, did you watch The Tiger King? Just a yes or no answer is all we need.
No, I have not.
Wait a minute. That bitch Carol Baskin lives in Florida.
On TV, though.
I just thought of something. Doesn't that bitch Carol Baskin live in Florida?
Actually, that's where Joe Exotic came from, I believe.
I don't know about that.
From what I understand, yep, she's from the Tampa area.
Jeff says Camp Randall is loud. Yeah, but and I've heard, I don't know if you've ever been to Virginia Tech. I've heard that place is really loud.
I've heard the Hokies are really loud. I want to go to Camp Randall one time just for the start of the fourth quarter when they play jump around.
Right.
That looks like it would be so much fun to be a part of.
Man, I hope that stadium's got extra support.
Kinnick Stadium in Iowa with the new the Kinnick Wave, where they wave to the kids in the Children's Hospital. Virginia Tech, the Hokie Stone. I've heard that is a great place. There's a handful of games that I would love to go to just to experience certain things, but Camp Randall and the fourth quarter jump around is definitely one of them.
Yeah, Jeff told us about that. What's it called? Is it the Children's Hospital Wave, Jeff? I think it's what they call it up there at Iowa. I'd never heard of it, and he mentioned that one night when we were talking about traditions and stuff. And I played that video on the stream, and it actually brought me to tears.
Oh, it is.
That's amazing.
Stadium. They just a couple of years ago built an extension on the hospital right outside.
Yeah,
the stadium, and it sticks up over so that the kids in the Children's Hospital can get on the top couple of floors and look down in the stadium.
Right.
And some genius came up with the idea on Twitter. At the end of the first quarter, everybody turn around and wave. And it's caught on. The visiting team does it. Everybody does it. And the kids go up and sit there and watch the wave. Look it up on YouTube. Scott Van Pelt did a really good commentary about it. ESPN's done several stories about it. It is an incredible gesture to those kids. And it is, it's new. They've only done it for a couple of years. It is the best new tradition. Florida's got a good one that they started a couple of years ago when Tom Petty died. Into the third. I
saw your tribute to that. Yeah,
they do. Won't back down, and that is really cool, especially a night game. Everybody pulls their phone out, starts waving the light around. That's really cool. But
the
wave's awesome.
The Florida tradition that I'm really looking forward to seeing again is the one where they lose a lot. A lot of the
for a while.
A lot of the younger fans don't realize that Florida used to lose quite frequently. I know you're old enough to remember that, but
I'm old enough to remember 0-10-1. They
yeah,
made a tie with Rutgers, and that was the highlight of the season.
Contrary to popular belief, Florida fans under the age of 30, football did not start when Spurrier got there. You guys just want to let you know that. And by the way, let's see, Moti. He said this guy doesn't cuss. I actually discussed this with Joel before we came on here tonight about the language thing, because you guys know my language. So Joel, don't be shocked when I say "fuck you, Glitter." That's a little thing me and my buddy Glitter Gator do on here. So. Yeah, I'm sure as a Florida fan, Joel has some foul language in his repertoire. I think all SEC does. It's probably the only sport that would make a Christian cuss on Saturday. Let's see. Where'd it go? I thought I saw something. Back up here. Maybe I was just seeing things. Who's your favorite? I guess it wouldn't be your favorite team by any stretch. Who's the team you actually love to see Florida play every year, win, lose, or draw? Like one of your favorite games of the year every year.
World's largest outdoor cocktail party, Florida, Georgia, and Jacksonville. It's the rivalry. I mean, it is honestly, it's over time, it is the biggest rivalry Florida has.
That's on my bucket list.
Until the conference split into divisions in '92, Florida had only played Tennessee like 20 times.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know.
Florida State didn't start playing football until the 50s. Florida and Georgia have gone at it every single year for 90-something years now, I think it is. And almost every one of those is played in Jacksonville on a quote-unquote neutral site. Steve Spurrier always liked to point out it used to be a stadium called the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida. We drive a bus up there. They take a plane down. Yeah, it's a neutral site. And Georgia fans will complain about that. But it is a unique experience. Half the stadium, it used to be quarters. You'd have a Florida, Georgia quarters of the stadium. They decided, nope, we can't do that. Florida one side, Georgia the other, because it would get ugly in the stands.
No, I'm sure.
But the atmosphere there have been some incredible games between the two. Steve Spurrier always said, everybody was talking about Florida, Tennessee, Florida State. Florida, Georgia was the one that mattered to him because he lost it. And when he was at Florida, Georgia beat Florida all the time. Georgia is ahead of Florida in the all-time series. That is a fun football game, a fun atmosphere to be a part of.
Now, I know at least one person that would love to see this be home and home. What's your thoughts on that? Would you rather it be home and home, or do you like it in the neutral site?
Played in Jacksonville. I've seen it home and home. In 94 and 95, because the Jaguars were coming into the NFL, the stadium was renovated. They couldn't play it there, so they played 94 in Gainesville, 95 in Athens between the hedges. It was the first time in, I want to say it was 65 or 70 years that game had been home and home. And it was great to see Georgia come out of the tunnel on Florida Field. Was incredible. The atmosphere was just unbelievable that night. And then the next year, Florida goes to Athens and beats Georgia. And there were some Georgia players on the Florida team that went over and snapped off little pieces of the hedges as memorabilia. Like, yep, we came and we're taking this home with us. It was great for those 2 years, but then it went back to Jacksonville. And I think that's where that game needs to be played. People show up. I know Tennessee has the Volunteer Navy. The boats start showing up in Jacksonville on Tuesday. I mean, it is an event. And last year, Florida and Georgia, as part of the fall college baseball, it's not really a season, it's fall practice. They played a game at the baseball grounds, which is across the parking lot from the football field. Florida and Georgia played a baseball game on Friday night, played a football game on Saturday. It's an entire weekend. It should never not be there.
Captain Trips, thank you again for the super chat. Quite simply, he says memorabilia. I think he's wanting you to talk about some of your memorabilia you may or may not have laying around there.
Well, I laid some of these out. I got passed to the Super Bowl. passed to the Final Four, passed to the NBA All-Star game when it was down in Orlando. And this may be my favorite thing. I got a T-shirt from when the Arizona Cardinals beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl in 2008.
Oh, man.
I know what you're saying. The Steelers won that game.
Man,
That's
you're killing me. How did you get that shirt? I'm a Cardinals fan.
I was outside the stadium because at the Super Bowl, it's just absolutely insane.
Hold that thing up again.
You don't park at the stadium if you're the media. You park at a compound somewhere away, and you ride. Actually, they charter school buses to take people in and out. So after the game, we're done.
What do you want for that? I got to have that.
That's the last one. I had 3 of them. But this guy comes up and he's carrying all these shirts. He says 2 for $5. I'm just trying to get rid of them. And my first thought was, why would I want one of those? The Cardinals didn't win that game. That's exactly why I want one of those.
Yeah.
So I had 3. I had a good friend that had asked me, said, hey, when you go to the Super Bowl, send me something unique. So I boxed one.
Definitely unique.
At the time, he was a morning news anchor in North Carolina. I get a phone call a few days later. Oh, my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm going to wear it over my shirt and tie for our next morning news cut-in. And another friend of mine, his family lives in Arizona. He saw me wearing it one day. He's like, that is so cool. I'm like, well, I just happen to have one more. So, yeah, these are the shirts that the NFL likes to get rid of after the game's over. Send them. ESPN's done stories. They send them to Africa, South America, somewhere in Asia. Just get them away from eBay. I managed to grab a couple.
Dang, I've never seen one of those. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen any type of shirt like that where a team had lost in the Super Bowl, World Series, any of that, man.
The NFL is really protective, and I think this is actually a bootleg shirt. I don't think it's an officially licensed NFL.
I don't care. It's still cool.
They weren't able to kind of keep their hands on it. The officially licensed stuff, they can kind of keep a closer watch on and get rid of it. But this was, I think, just a bootlegger made a shirt. And I was like, I definitely got to have one of those. I wore it to work the next day. And a guy I worked with, he said, oh, how was the Super Bowl? I was good. And he looked at me and he looked down at my shirt. And you could see the look on his face like, wait a minute, they didn't win. And I started smiling like, yeah, that's why I got the shirt.
Yeah, too bad they don't make Super Bowl rings for the losers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where'd it go? Trying to find that comment so I can take it back off of there. Yeah, I will just leave it up there for a minute until I figure it out and find it. There it is. I don't know if you saw that one or not. Somebody taking a little shot.
Shot at Georgia?
Yeah.
I've got some friends. Actually, the guy that I sent one of those Arizona Cardinal shirts to, he's a huge Georgia fan. And he actually worked a game on the sideline with me at the cocktail party. And I told him before the game, I said, Georgia should win this. They're the better football team. I said, but if it's close late, I guarantee you Florida's going to win this game because Georgia will panic. And Georgia scores, ties the game up, and you look around the stadium and you could see the Georgia fans had this defeated look on their face of they're going to go down and kick a field goal and beat us. Not let's stop them, let's try and win this game. They knew because at that point Florida had won like 10 out of 11 games or something like that. I mean, they just owned Georgia. And later that next year, I asked Mark Richt at SEC Media Day. He was talking about football being a very mental game. He said, people don't give the psychological part credit. It's a very mental game. It's a very physical game. He said, it's also very psychological.
Sure.
Followed up, I said, Coach, you mentioned the psychology of football. You guys haven't beaten Florida very much lately. Are they in your head? And he said and he answered, he was honest. He said, absolutely. He said, we were just watching film a few weeks ago, and we saw ourselves do things as a team and as a coaching staff we didn't do at all the rest of the year, but we did it because it was Florida. He said, yeah, they're in our head. That game where they beat Florida in 2007, stormed to the field after the first touchdown to celebrate. That's why that was so key to Georgia. They needed that. They needed to get over that hump against Florida because he admitted they're in our head. I mean, when you beat somebody 10 out of 11, 13 out of 15, they start to question it. And not to be mean, but that's kind of where Tennessee is right now.
I was just going to bring up talking to Billy Ratliff. I don't know if you remember him or not, but he's over on the Volunteer Roadshow channel, and we've asked him about that before. Was Florida really in Tennessee's head? Now, he said no. He said that teams don't get inside your head like that. But that was a different time. That his team actually beat Florida, and I'm wondering now. Okay, so you got 4 years if you stay long enough that these kids are here. Some might say, "No, we haven't played them long enough for them to be in our head." But yeah, I almost think it would almost be automatic. As a fan, when we're looking at them, at least my mindset, I would hope that it's not this way with the players. But every freaking year we play Florida, if we get a lead, I'm thinking, okay, when's it coming? When's it going to happen? When are we going to blow up? When are we going to screw up? When are we going to fuck this up and lose? And I have a video. I can't remember what year it was, Joel, but I was actually recording while the game was going on, and I sat there and pretty much said exactly what was going to happen before it happened, and sure enough, it happened. I wish I could remember what year that was.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
You're right. The kids are only there 3 or 4, maybe 5 years if they're a red shirt, but they know what has happened. They're not living in a vacuum. They hear from the fans, "Hey, are we finally going to beat them this year?" They've seen the history. They hear from everybody. So I think it does start to mess with them a little bit.
See, no nation thinks it doesn't get in the players' heads. I'm not so sure about that. I mean,
well, he says it gets in the coaches' heads and the fans' heads.
Yeah, for sure.
Living in a vacuum. The coaches start to talk about how important this game is, and they put a little bit more pressure to win that one because we got to stop the streak. That starts to weigh on the kids, I think. And I remember Reggie Green played offensive line for University of Florida. He was talking about the Florida-Georgia game. It's his sophomore year. We were asking him, what's it like going up there? He said, we didn't think it was that big a deal. Coach Spurrier was telling us how big a deal it was. He said, the first time you get on that bus and you ride into that stadium and everybody's telling you you're number one, it's just some of the fans are using a different finger, because he heard that from the coach. He heard about things. Yeah, they're only there for the 4 years, but if it's in the coach's head, if it's in the fan's head, the players feed off of the electricity from the stadium. And if the stadium's going, oh, God, what are we going to do to blow this? That's going to take a toll.
Yeah. Mr. MBPS, I can't remember if it was 2013 or not. I just know it was the year that we lost 10 in a row to Florida. So maybe 2013 was that year. That's too quick of a math.
2014 was the 10th because 2015 was 11. That was the fourth down completion to Antonio Callaway. The Tennessee still nearly won, and they kicked a field goal that would have won the game. It just leaked wide right.
Yeah, I know. You go back and watch that play, and you can actually see the ball looks like it's going to go in, and then that little gust of wind comes. You can see the flag on top of the goalpost blow it.
Actually, I was just looking at the story that I did for Cox Sports Television that day, and I was shooting the kicker, and he kicks, and he throws his hands up, and you see him. He starts, wait a minute, he's trying to lean it, and all the Tennessee players are like, you can see them all just trying to put a little English on it, and then it goes wide, and Keanu Neal from Florida stands there and throws his hands up. Not that it's good that we held on. Yeah. And
there's some Alabama players that would like to shoot some kickers, I'm sure. Actually had a former Alabama kicker on last Friday. I don't know if you remember Brian Cunningham or not, but we had him on last week. Let's see.
Kickers are the most loved and most hated players on the team.
Just like
hate them when they miss the one that matters.
Backup quarterbacks are always the most popular and favorite players on the team until they get to play. There's a person suspiciously not visible in the comments tonight. I don't know why that is.
Your friend Jeff has said to ask about Florida never playing non-conference games out of state. That's changing. Texas, Colorado, is it Iowa or Iowa State? Scott Strickland, the new athletic director, has gone out and started to schedule some non-conference home and homes with a lot of schools. I know Texas, Colorado, and I want to say Iowa or Iowa State is in there, and I think there's one or two more. Part of the reason Florida doesn't play the non-conference games out of state is, well, one of their non-conference games is one of their biggest rivals, and it's in state. So you play all the SEC slate, then you play Florida State. Well, that one's not going out of state. Last year they add Miami to the schedule. Miami's coming up in a few years, going to play them again. That game's not going to be out of state. Most of Florida's games, if they're not conference games, they're against in-state teams. Yeah, they play the pushovers, but when they go to Florida State or they go to Miami, they're still not leaving the state of Florida. But they've done a good job. Scott Strickland, the AD, has added Texas, Colorado, and I want to say it's somebody in Iowa that they've added to play home and homes. Now it's spread out over the next 10 or 15 years, but at least he's added those games.
I'll let you read that super chat down there if you can see it. Thank you for the super chat, Captain Trips.
I've never seen him crying.
Yeah, I'll let you take that one.
I talked to Coach Fulmer a couple of times, never seen him crying. I've seen him frustrated a few times. I don't know that I've ever seen a coach cry, except overly emotional about a win.
Yeah, like, I'm sure Captain Trips has got jokes, trying to have some jokes there. Whoop, I missed one. Gate City Blue Devil, what's up, my man? Any chance that you were at or watched the 92 monsoon game at Neyland against Florida? My favorite win by Tennessee against them. Go Vols. Thank you, Flint, for the super chat, sir.
I watched that one. I believe that was the 45-3 shellacking. It was 7-3 at halftime, kicked off. I think it was Dale Carter took the second half kickoff back for a touchdown for Tennessee, and it spiraled out of control at that point.
Let's see. We play you guys up here in even years, right? So yeah. I was thinking the Dale Carter game was 90. I don't remember it raining in that game. I remember that game because, like you said, it was real close at halftime, and you had about 5 guys that almost tackled Dale Carter on that. Maybe it did. Is that the one you're talking about, Flint? No, he said 34-13 Tennessee, so it wasn't that one. The Dale Carter game was 90.
Okay.
Sure.
Then 94, there was a downpour early in the game, and Florida won that one. Steve Spurrier showing his.
Oh my God!
I'm
yeah.
just gonna roll the dice. It was 4th and 10, and I'm watching the game on TV, thinking, just punt, play field position. Nope, I'm going to go for it on 4th and 10, and I'm not looking for the first down. I'm throwing to the end zone. Florida ran away with that game, and Tennessee fought and clawed back. And
that was 97, wasn't it? Not 97. Shit. There was one year where the heavens just opened up, and you guys beat the crap out of us.
95 in Gainesville.
95. Okay, yeah.
Tennessee was up by 16 just before the half.
Yeah.
That was the game that Lawrence Wright absolutely lowered the boom on Joey Kent. The biggest hit I've ever seen in person. And that sparked Florida, sparked the stadium, and went from, I think it was a 16-point Tennessee lead to, I want to say, a 25-point Florida.
Oh, yeah, it was 59 to something, I think. That was 2 totally different games.
Fell out at halftime.
Yeah.
I was lucky. I was in the press box for that one. I wasn't down on the field for that.
Damn it. 2000. Talk to me, Joel.
2000.
Yeah. The catch that wasn't a catch.
I understand. We were talking about that earlier this week.
And wait a minute. For you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the game at Neyland. It was 20 to 20, right? Or was it 23 to 20? It was 23 to 20, Tennessee. There was 14 seconds left. It was second down. Florida had it on the Tennessee 4 or 5 yard line. And Jesse Palmer drops back, hits Jabbar Gaffney just inside the end zone. If you watch that catch today, today they definitely overturned that. I think with today.
I don't know if they overturn it. They definitely take a look at it. They probably overturn it. But they didn't have replay back then.
Yeah.
Like you said, we were talking earlier this week, setting up tonight's session, and you said you've never met a Gator who said he didn't catch it. You've never met a volunteer who said he did. It reminded me of something I heard one time. Every story has three sides: your side, my side, and the truth. And your perception affects what you see. Gator fans saw a touchdown. Tennessee fans saw an incompletion. That was a unique call in that he was standing in the end zone. On the field of play, that's not a catch because you've got to catch the ball, establish some sort of control, get a foot down. If you're going towards the end zone, you got to break the goal line, break the plane, something like that. But because he's standing in the end zone, the instant he clutches that ball to his chest, it's a touchdown, plays over. And if the referee had been behind Jabbar, they call that incomplete because you see it come in and come out. But the linesman was right down the side. He saw it come in. Not even a heartbeat later, Tennessee defender comes down over his shoulder, knocks it loose. But by that point, the referee had seen him secure it just for that fraction. Plays over.
Bullshit.
Ball game.
Bullshit. He never secured it, damn it. And I'm going to whine, Celine Driver.
I have my angle that I shot for TV 20. It's on my YouTube channel.
Is that the one on your YouTube channel? Okay, that is a great. Is it the one
is
down?
It is a fraction that ball is in his chest. But by rule, by that official's vision, he secured it. And the instant he secures it, the play's over.
Sunday night, I'll have that play on here, guys, so we can argue about it. I put that play out of my mind many times for many years, but I saw it on, I think it was your channel, or no, I saw it on a different channel, but anyway, I saw it, and every time I see that damn play, I end up watching it 50 times, cussing. But look, it was second down. There was 14 seconds. They were going to have at least a couple more shots at the end zone, and at the very least, probably going to kick a field goal and send it to overtime. And
that's something that Tennessee fans and I think a lot of Gator fans forget.
Yeah,
Florida scored touchdowns 2 consecutive plays.
They were on fire.
The previous play, Riche Caldwell caught what should have been the go-ahead touchdown, but Riche had a problem with lining up in the right place. He had gotten up on the line of scrimmage and covered up, I think it was the tight end. So when the tight end ran his route, it's an ineligible receiver downfield. So Riche catches he's the hero. No, he's the idiot. Spurrier referred to him as team dummy sometimes because he would always line up in the wrong place. So Tennessee fans that think, we got screwed on that, forget that Florida scored the previous play. Florida scored that play, and Florida's going to have 1 or 2 more shots to score from really deep in Tennessee territory.
Oh, yeah, it was, like I said, 4, 5, 6 yard line, something like that. It's one of those plays where if it had been the other way around, Florida fans would be crying 20 years later, and Tennessee fans, oh, no, it was a catch. It's just one of those plays that you can't do shit about. And it just as a Tennessee fan, we've seen that all too many times over the years, and it's getting really old, especially against you guys. You guys in Alabama, man, and now it's even getting that way with Georgia, our 3 biggest rivals.
Every fan base has a game that sticks in their craw of we got screwed.
Yeah.
For Florida, it's
nuts and bolts. We got screwed.
Florida State came to Gainesville in 2002, I believe, and it's called the Swindle in the Swamp. Opening kickoff, Florida State guy gets hit, ball comes out, Florida recovers at like the 20-yard line. Nope, ruled down by contact. My camera angle, he was not down, the ball came out. Chris Ricks fumbled, they're right down at like the Florida 1 or 2 yard line. Ricks fumbles the snap, big pileup ensues. The referees look, go, third down, second down, third down, whatever it was, Florida State ball. Channing Crowder, Florida's linebacker, is standing there holding the football. He's like, how is it their ball? I'm holding the ball.
Right.
No, Florida State ball. He's like, and he's just looking like, how are you saying they recovered? I'm holding the football. But there were several calls in that game. It got the nickname the Swindle in the Swamp because it is the one that sticks in the craw of Florida fans that they got screwed over by the refs. My friend that's a Georgia fan, he's got a game with Georgia Tech, fumble at the goal line that he swears was an absolute crock. There's no way that could have gone the way the officials said it was.
I'm putting the link. Thank you, JT Thompson, for the super chat and the kind comment. I'm going to put the link in the chat section of the Tyree Cleveland catch that I was talking about at the beginning, at the top of the show. That Joel, you guys go watch this and then come back or hang on and watch it after or whatever. I'm telling you, man, even as a Tennessee fan, it sucks to watch the play and it hurts every time I see it, but it's such a great shot of him up there right in the dog pile as they're celebrating and stuff. And thank you, Shane. Where'd you go here?
That's the favorite play I've ever shot, just because of how exciting and crazy it was. And I got lucky. Florida got the ball back 20-20. It's going to go to overtime. Florida had control of that game. Tennessee stormed back. Florida got lucky that they held on to a field goal to keep it tied. But they had about 40-something seconds left, and I'm thinking, okay, they got Eddie Pinheiro, big, strong leg kicker. I want to be on the side where I can see him on the kick. I don't want to be on the end line and have all the linemen in front of me. I want to be on the side so I can see Eddie when he kicks the field goal. Because I'm thinking they're going to try and get a couple of first downs, get to maybe the 40, try a 55, 60-yard field goal to win it. And I'm not going to follow the ball. I'm going to look at Eddie. The crowd reaction, his reaction is going to tell me if it's good or not. Well, Jim McElwain, not the best when it came to clock management. Florida ends up burning like 40 seconds off the clock, and they leave themselves one play. And because of that, normally on a Hail Mary, I'd be on the end line with the play coming towards me. But because I had set up on the side to see Eddie, I was not on the end line. So when Felipe gets flushed, rolls out, he turns and he looks straight at me. And as he does, Tyree Cleveland runs through the picture with his hand up, and I just go with Tyree.
Yeah.
Ball comes down into his lap. He catches it, and we've got to stay on the sideline. So I'm shooting the play, and I open my other eye, and I look up, and I see zeros on the clock. I can go on the field. So as Florida's pouring off their sideline, I was on the Tennessee sideline. I take off running to the pile, and they're unstacked. They're trying to pull him out from under the pile. It is absolute chaos. I'm trying to not get trampled. They pull him out, and I follow him around, and I follow him for a good minute or so as he's down, catching his breath, saying a prayer. Teammates are jumping all over him. It was so exciting, so much fun. The end of that game was just such chaos. And getting to run out, I was one of the first photographers to the pile.
Oh, when you look if you watch the CBS, when I saw your shot of it, and I've seen the play a dozen, 100 million, 1,000 times on CBS's shot of it. But once I saw your shot of it and watched it a couple of times, I went back and watched the CBS shot of it again, and I picked you out and could see you.
You can see me run up to the pile.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine that I used to work with at another station in Gainesville, or he worked at another station in Gainesville. He was up in Michigan, and he sent me a message and like, "Hey, you made my sports broadcast tonight," because he recognized me as I ran up to the pile. And at that point, I kept the camera running. Just go get whatever there is there, and I got a great shot of them. I mean, literally, they're digging guys off the pile.
Oh yeah. You think they just won the national championship or something?
It was a huge moment, and they had blown that game. They had it. They let Tennessee come back. They made a great defensive stop to force the field goal and get the tie. But at that point, if they don't score on that Hail Mary, all the momentum's on Tennessee's side. The Volunteers very well could win that game in overtime. And at the time, my girlfriend, her daughter my best friend had tickets to that game, but he was out of town. So he gave tickets to girl. She's like a stepdaughter to me, and she took her boyfriend. It was his first Gator game. That's what he saw. We walked out. He's like, "Is it always like this?" I'm like, "No, it's not always like that."
All right. Let's see here. I had a question I was going to ask you, but I want to get to these guys first because they're always going to get to the super chatters first. If they're going to pay to ask a question, you're going to get it read. Captain Tripp, you're on fire tonight. He wants to know if you saw the Florida-Miami game from the sidelines.
You talking about this past year? Yes, I shot that game on the sidelines.
And Mr. Nickname here, Celine Driver, Shark Humper made Gator Nation long for the days of Ron Zook. Screw you, Ron Zook. Hated that AW shucks attitude. Celine Driver's got a nickname for everybody.
Yeah, McElwain was not popular.
And the guy was winning too. That's what,
But he was winning in spite of himself. I actually did the math one time, and he was brought in. He came in after Muschamp. Muschamp's offenses were terrible. Everybody wanted to get back to Urban Meyer, Steve Spurrier. Let's get 30, 40 points a game. Muschamp, that wasn't his mindset. So they bring in McElwain, who's supposed to be this offensive genius, and they're having to win games 14-13 and hold on by their fingernails. His offenses, and people made fun of Muschamp and Zook and said their offenses were terrible. Zook's offenses for 2 of his 3 years at Florida were better than all but one of Muschamp's and McElwain's. Zook was not a bad coach. He was an incredible recruiter. He is an unbelievable special teams coach. But as far as your first job being replacing Steve Spurrier, your first head coaching job, that was too much for him. But he deserves a ring from 2006 because he stocked the cupboard that Urban Meyer won his first national championship with.
You're old enough to remember the Ron Zook scandal from years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. I've been waiting for it, and it took about an hour and 15 minutes, but here it is. Uncle Lou, go ahead. I'll let you read it, Joel.
Talk about your memories of the Gator football undefeated season. Don't remember that because it's never happened.
Yeah.
2008, they won the national championship, and that was the year that Tebow made the promise. And one of the things he said was we were hoping for an undefeated season. That's never happened around here.
Has Georgia ever had an undefeated season?
95, they had an undefeated regular season, won the SEC championship, and then played in what Gator fans refer to as the Fiasco Bowl. Tommy Frazier, Lawrence Phillips. Nebraska's third running back that year was a freshman named Amon Green, who went on to be a superstar with the Green Bay Packers. That's how deep that team was. They destroyed the Gators.
Yeah.
And then the next year, they win the national championship, but they lose by 3 in Tallahassee. So Florida's never had a perfect season. They've had 2 one-loss national championship seasons.
Damn.
Actually, 3 one-loss national championship seasons.
So I guess Georgia was undefeated in 1980, Shane says.
Georgia ran the table with Herschel Walker. And
go ahead and put it out there. Somebody here, we'll give you that. I thought the Bill Bates comment was coming next. We were talking about Bill Bates.
I know Sentinel had a great line about Georgia. It's been several months ago, but something about how they won the national title in 1980 with one of the greatest college football players of all time and think that they belong with the elite. He said, "What else have you done?" I don't remember exactly what it was he said, but it was a great comparison of how you won with Herschel Walker 30, now 40 years ago. What have you done since then? And they've had some good football teams. They've had some bad football teams. But it seems like Georgia thinks that they belong in that upper level. You won with Herschel Walker. You haven't won anything since.
Yes. The old SEC rivalries. Gotta love them. What's one of your favorite non-Florida SEC traditions?
Oh,
If you don't say running through the T, I'm ending the show right now.
Running through the
What is one of your favorite traditions?
I'll tell you, nobody parties pregame like the Cajuns, in my experience. South Carolina coming on the field to 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I was there in, I think it was 01 for the blackout. That's kind of intimidating when you look around and everybody's dressed in black, and you look around that stadium. 2001's playing.
Yeah, but then they ruin it with that damn rooster crow.
Yeah. Mike the Tiger. I love the atmosphere on the Bayou. Tennessee, it's a lot of fun up there. I like going to Calhoun's on the river if I can get there before the crowd shows up in the Volunteer Navy. But there are some great traditions in the SEC, and that's part of what makes the SEC so great. I mean, all schools have their great traditions, but like the SEC network says, it just means more. It's people live and die by college football in the South.
Fact. Better back, Herschel Walker or Bo Jackson?
Florida beat Bo Jackson. They never beat Herschel. No, I don't think they ever beat Herschel Walker. Better athlete, Bo. Although Herschel is an absolute chiseled specimen to this day. The guy still can do hundreds.
Pure running back, though. I think Herschel's got him.
Yeah, Herschel. Bo was on a different level athletically. I mean, you're talking about a guy who would have been a Hall of Fame football player, probably would have been a Hall of Fame baseball player if he had just picked one sport. Incredible athlete. But Herschel, man.
We got our first crack smoker in the comments tonight, Joel. He says Bill Bates. Where'd it go? Bill Bates wouldn't. Damn it, where'd it go? Comments keep scrolling. Bill Bates wouldn't see the sidelines in today's game. I think you meant wouldn't see the field. Not sure what you meant by that, Rubber Nose. Although I am sure it's a shot at Bill Bates. Bill Bates gets trucked once in his life because he was worn out from kicking Herschel's ass all day. And now, look, everybody wants to jump on his ass. Jeez, I see how you guys are. Now, there's no question. I mean, I don't even think our Big Ten buddy in here would argue over which conference is the best. But are you a SEC homer, Joel? You're not one of these guys that roots for SEC teams when they're playing for national championships when it's not Florida, are you?
Kind of. I mean, and I don't want to say it's – I mean, I pull for the SEC, and I think the SEC is the best. But it's not because I'm a homer. It's because this conference won 8 consecutive national championships. Florida in 06, LSU in 7, Florida in 8, and then just one after another. And there was the year that LSU and Alabama played each other in the national championship game. And the ad that the SEC ran during the game was, "You're watching number 8 because no matter how this one goes, it's our 8th title." And I'm not taking away from Ohio State and some other great football programs out there. But when you have to play the schools in the SEC week in and week out, UCF claims their national championship when they went undefeated a couple of years ago because they beat Auburn. They beat Auburn, who beat Alabama and Georgia, who played in the national championship game. Okay, I can see where your math is coming up, but you played Auburn. You didn't play Auburn the week after you played Florida and 2 weeks before you went on the road to Alabama. The SEC is just a murderer's row. I mean, even Florida State, when they go through the ACC, I was arguing with an ACC or a Florida State fan about, the SEC. I said, you have played 3 teams that had winning records when you played them. This school in the SEC has played 4 top 10 teams in the span of 5 weeks. And you're saying that your road is just as hard as their road? You got to be kidding.
English is a pretty special and phenomenal language. I'm even having a hard time deciphering this comment. Bill Bates a dog. He football ignorant. Love you, Dennis, but that one's one for the garbage can. Even the old Lyle garbage can wouldn't take that one. Err. I ask you about your favorite. All of my questions are gone that I had. excuse me, that I had written down. Here's an important one. What kind of dog is that we hear?
It is a Jack Russell. And it told me one time it's a Jack Russell terrorist. He's nuts.
They say Jack Russells are one of the smartest dogs out there. Is he a Tennessee fan?
No.
He's not very smart then. So.
Actually named.
Trade him in for a poodle.
He's actually sort of named after Trey Burton, who played at the University of Florida. We got him the week after Trey had a 5-touchdown game against Kentucky. And we were trying to think of something to name him. And I said something about Trey Burton. So his name's Burt. He's not really named after Trey, but that's where I got the name. But he is extremely intelligent, and he's really dumb all at the same time. The TV, if the TV's on like Animal Planet, he knows that there are animals on his TV, and he goes nuts. He's not smart enough to realize the animal's not really in the living room. You can relax.
I've avoided this question all night, but I'm going to put it out there anyway, just because of what we're going through right now. The whole coronavirus stuff, none of us know, obviously none of the people in the comments. I don't know. You don't know. What's your thoughts on whether or not we will have college football? And if so, what kind, how long, how much?
I have heard a rumor.
Well, we've all heard rumors.
Yeah, I've heard from someone who said they got this from somebody at GPD who provides security at the Gator games, that they've been told to not plan on assigning officers to football games because there aren't going to be football games. I sincerely hope that's not the case, because this 3 or 4 weeks now with no sports to watch is driving everybody insane.
Oh, sure.
It's premature to say it's not going to happen because training camps don't open until August. We're 3.5 months from when college football training camps would start. How this disease is going to progress and if we're going to get a handle on it in that time, there's a possibility that the games may not be attended. They may play in empty stadiums or limit who can come into the stadiums. But it's too far out to say, I think. Like I said, we're still so far from when training camps would start. But that would be no college football. There was actually, I saw a comedy video recently where how people in the South react to the lockdown. And one of the guys said, oh, no college football? You tell the SEC schools that there won't be college football if this isn't solved? He said, we'll have a cure by next weekend. He said, it'll probably be Vandy. It's about time they won a national championship in something.
Vandy?
No, he was joking about them. They would be the ones that would solve the coronavirus to save the college football season. I can't imagine there not being. I mean, it was just mind-boggling when they canceled the NCAA tournament. No hockey, no baseball hasn't started yet. The NFL draft's going to be virtual. And now the possibility that there's not going to be football in the fall, that is absolutely mind-blowing. And I pray that we get through all this and get over this and we can go back out to restaurants. I'm dying to sit at a bar, have a beer, and eat some chicken wings. Can't do that right now. But no football, I mean, we're in lockdown. That would make it just that much more miserable. But the priority is get through this so that we can get back to normal at some point. Hopefully it will be before fall.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything, I know, but I was listening to a sports talk show yesterday and got so excited about it. I made a little short video about it. David Cutcliffe thinks we're going to have football this year. I don't even remember what all he said. He made some good points, and he talked about how, back in the old days, because he is an old man now, they didn't need as much time to prepare as what everybody thinks we need now. So if push come to shove, and they only had a couple of weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks, I'm paraphrasing here, that they could do it. His belief is that we will have football this year, but I don't know. He doesn't know. He doesn't know any more than you or I or anybody else knows. But we are starting to hear more people, say that they think we're not going to have it. I don't know. I'm trying to just keep an open mind and make myself believe we're going to have it. And then as we get closer and reality, whichever way reality goes, then deal with it.
Just the idea of there not being football. I mean, we lost the NCAA tournament. We've lost the Stanley Cup playoffs. We don't have baseball yet.
Is anybody getting used to not having sports now is what I wonder. I mean, after a while, a person can do anything long enough and get used to it. But I don't know that some of us can get used to not having sports. It's such an integral part of our lives.
I keep wanting to pick up the remote and turn on a game. I mean, I'm a huge hockey fan. This should be the Stanley Cup playoffs. I love watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's no hockey. I mean, it's to the point where ESPN is televising NBA players playing each other in a video game or playing horse against each other, but they're not together. They're off on their separate site. It's so bizarre.
I missed that, and I'm perfectly okay with the fact that I missed that one.
It's just so bizarre the way everything has come to a stop.
Let's see if I missed any questions back up here. Yeah, I'm all out of written down questions, and I'm too retarded to come up with any. So you guys in the comments, what have you got? It's not every day that we get to talk to someone that's at these SEC games on the field, schmoozing with their players, and I can't believe nobody's had a referee or an official question yet, other than whatever disease that guy had at the Jabbar Gaffney catch, whatever he was suffering from that day.
Al Matthews. I'll never forget the name of that official.
I'll never forget it either, because as they showed it, you can see him throw his hands up, then he starts to bring him down. Then he throws them back up again, like he wasn't sure what to call. Yeah, bottom line is.
Well, they always tell officials, like home plate umpires or umpires in baseball, sell the call. If you think you saw this, ring him up. When you punch him out emphatically, because you can sell the call. And if he came in and he was throwing his hands up like that because I think he was trying to sell his call. And again, I think he made the right call. If that's in the field of play, if he's not in front of Jabbar, if he's behind Jabbar, he calls that incomplete.
I don't even know what that means either. Who are some coaches you've met that, icon coaches not wearing blue and orange?
My favorite coach to deal with, or the one I've had the most fun with, Les Miles. He's a comic. I mean, he was so much fun to deal with. He actually sort of called me short one time at SEC Media Days. He was walking out of the room, and me and
called you short?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other photographers are shooting video of him walking out. He says, you guys got to recruit your cameramen. They got to be tall to have a good vantage point. And then he looks at me and points. He doesn't say I'm short, but he implies it. He walks out, and I look at him like, Coach, you call me short? But Les was so much fun. I hope he does well at Kansas, because
looking good now.
I dealt with him. He was always entertaining, always a fun guy. I've been around Saban. Mark Richt, incredibly nice guy. Most of my coaching interactions have been with UF because that's the team I'm around the most. Sean Payton in the NFL. But, yeah, I think my one I've dealt with that did not coach for Florida is Les Miles.
What, now that we got this COVID shit going on, what would you normally be doing right now?
Actually, I wouldn't be doing a whole lot right now. I worked for CST, and I also in the past have worked for other regional sports networks, including CSS. It was based out of Atlanta. They were kind of an SEC network before SEC network existed. They carried a lot of baseball games, some basketball games, and occasionally a football game. They had SEC shows, breakdown shows, coaches shows, nightly sports recap shows. Then the SEC network came along and took all their content away, and it shut down. CST used to be year-round. They had the rights to the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans. When they lost the rights to the Pelicans, at about the same time the SEC network came up and took away a lot of content, CST's cut down to basically football season. They live and die by the Saints and LSU Tigers. Normally this time of year, I'd be in Orlando at a Magic game covering the NBA playoffs. In July, I would be at SEC Media Day, or we actually went to Big 12 Media Day several years ago. I'd be at whatever event one of my affiliates needed something from. I'd be at March Madness. Right now, with those restrictions, with CSS shutting down and CST ratcheting back, I wouldn't really have anything to do right now anyway.
Megan wants to know about Aaron Hernandez. Did you have any interactions with him?
Interviewed him a couple of times. I don't think anybody that dealt with him had any idea what was really there. Never had a problem with it. I mean, there were rumors of things that happened in Gainesville, and you look back at it now and you're like, oh, wait a minute. There was some smoke there that we didn't see. Where there's smoke, there's fire. But I interviewed him a couple of times. I know people that interviewed him more than that, and nobody thought he was capable of what he did.
I'll deal with you guys after I get done with Joel here on this timing people out shit. Looking back, getting some accusations of selective question asking here. I like for these guys to try and do this shit sometimes, sit here and look at all the comments and listen and pay attention to the guy you're talking to and catch all the questions. Now, Moti, I'm going to put this up there because I was actually trying to think of something too about Cam Newton. Was it your laptop that he stole?
No, I used to joke, and I said it jokingly, that Cam Newton was actually better than Tim Tebow. And I backed it up with stats but the thing is, Cam would come in late in games against a tired defense. But statistically, he was bigger than Tebow. His passing and rushing are averages, obviously not totals, because he would only play a little bit. They were actually higher than Tebow's. Incredibly talented. I mean, you think about what would have happened if he hadn't done that. Tebow would have graduated and Cam Newton would have stepped in at Florida in Urban Meyer's offense with Jeff Demps and Chris Rainey and all those guys. Florida would have rattled off a couple more national titles. And Cam Newton is—
I see you, D4. Go ahead, Joe.
One of the most exciting players. I remember there was a play when he was at Auburn. It was playing LSU. He got sacked for an 8-yard loss. And it was the most entertaining 8-yard loss I've ever seen, because he was under pressure and he was scrambling. He was going here, he was going there. And by the time the play was over, he had lost 8 yards, but he had made a highlight reel run out of it.
Spurrier, your favorite Gator coach of all time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Mullen. Mullen really seems to be having a lot of fun. You'll see him dancing on the sideline during timeouts, things like that. He laughs, he jokes. Muschamp was so serious all the time. Like, Coach, can you turn it off once in a while? Meyer rubbed me the wrong way a few times with some of the things he said, but he's an excellent football coach. I like that. Cook was in over his head, and then McElwain was what he was. But Spurrier, A, incredibly successful, B, so much fun to talk to. I mean, just you never knew what this guy was going to say. I remember there was a student reporter that would stop. He would signal to his photographer to stop recording. You're like, oh, I don't need – somebody would ask a question. He'd cut it off. I don't need this question for my story. And I'm thinking, why would – and then there would be another question. Okay, roll the camera on this one. I want this answer. Why would you ever turn a camera off in a Steve Spurrier press conference? You never know what that guy's going to say.
Kind of like the same with Les Miles, Derek Dooley, even dickhead Butch Jones. You know, I've heard he was always good for a soundbite, but it would most likely be some kind of stupid ass cliche. That's nightmare season there. Nightmare coach. Jesse Sullivan, thanks for the super chat. Cam Newton's hardest game was against Clemson. Obviously not a question. I'm not even sure what that's in reference to, but thank you for the super chat, sir. I do appreciate it, definitely. NASCAR ball says Florida should have held on to McElwain. Provided we have a football season this year, let's just say we're going to, all right, for conversation's sake. Florida winning the East?
I think so. They've got a good football team coming back. There's the wild card of there's no spring practice. So these guys that would normally, because Florida's losing a lot of guys at certain positions. The receiver corps is losing, I think, 4 of its top 5 players. There's a lot of talent there, but that talent did not get spring practice to develop. The players that are coming up that have to replace guys didn't get spring practice to develop. Now, that's the same for everybody. Georgia didn't get spring practice. Tennessee didn't get spring practice. But there are certain positions that needed the reps and needed the time that didn't get it. But
Alabama got Apple Watches.
I think Florida can beat Georgia, finally get over the hump, because Felipe Franks held them back the last couple of years. Kyle Trask, I don't know what it is about him, but he just seems to make more plays. And Florida's been close with Georgia the last couple of years. Georgia, I was talking earlier about how Florida owned them under Spurrier. Florida's not done well against Georgia in recent years. They've kind of lost that edge. And obviously that's the team you got to get past, because it ain't going to be Vandy. It's probably not going to be on South Carolina unless Will Muschamp turns things around real quick, because that went south on him. Kentucky, I mean, they went through, 4 quarterbacks and ended up using a wide receiver at quarterback by the end of the season. Missouri, they are one of the most Jekyll and Hyde teams I've ever seen. 1 year, Missouri is a world beater. The next week, they look terrible. I mean, nobody can figure that team out. Tennessee, I mean, Jeremy Pruitt's trying to do something there, but they tend to get the ball rolling later in the season. Florida plays them early. That's why Tennessee a lot of times has wanted to have that game at the end of the year. In 2000, right? Was it 2000? No, in 2001. In 2001, because of 9/11, that game was rescheduled to the end of the year. Tennessee tends to peak later. They beat Florida in Gainesville and won that game. But yeah, it's
You were there for that, of course.
Yeah, I was there for that.
I actually had Travis Stevens on here 3 weeks ago. That was a fun interview. He talked a lot about that game. He
had a back-breaking touchdown run in that one.
Oh man, he shredded you guys that night. We don't win that game if he's not in. Because it was a tight game. What did we win? 32-30, 34-30, 2 points or something like that.
I want to say he had a long touchdown run on like a 3rd and short, where not only did he convert the first down, but he busted it open and ran away and put the game away.
Yeah, he had several runs that night where you guys just couldn't get him down. He ended up with 200 and some yards that night. That's, you know what? There you go. That's a good comment right there. Fans are basically stupid. We are basically stupid a lot of times. We think we know more than we really know. That's a fact. Everybody's an armchair quarterback. Just like Joel here, he thinks Florida could win the East this year when clearly Tennessee's going to win the East. See, so we all think we know something.
I just saw one. Excuse me. I saw one comment that said Florida barely beat Kentucky. How do I think they're going to beat Georgia? Florida beat Kentucky soundly in the 4th quarter when Kyle Trask took over. That was the game where Felipe Franks got that terrible ankle injury. Nobody wanted to see him get hurt. But Gator fans, not that they were happy to see him get hurt, but they were happy to see a change at quarterback because Felipe had struggled. He had a terrible first 3 quarters. Kyle Trask came in, and they bulldozed Kentucky in the 4th quarter. This is a different football team with Kyle Trask at quarterback than with Felipe Franks. I don't know what it was with Felipe. His accuracy was off. He could run. He was athletic. He could run, but he wouldn't run when I thought he needed to. Trask just tends to make more plays. So to say that Florida barely beat Kentucky, Florida struggled against Kentucky with Felipe Franks. Florida killed Kentucky with Trask, and that's the quarterback now.
My answer to that question would have been 4 words. That was last year. I used to be guilty of it and still do sometimes, always want to compare or not compare, but say, well, how do you think this is going to happen when last year that happened? Teams are different every year. And what happened last year any coach will tell you, if what happened last year had 0 bearing on what's going to happen this year. That's fact. And yeah, that was rough seeing that happen to Franks. I hate Florida, but you don't ever want to see that happen to anybody.
No, you don't never want to see somebody get hurt.
Yeah.
And also, the Florida monkey was off Kentucky's back because Florida had won for 31 straight years before they won in Gainesville 2 years ago. So Kentucky no longer feared Florida. And I know people say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah. When you lose for 31 years in a row, I don't care that you're only there for 4 years. You haven't won for 31 years. So Kentucky playing at home, coming off of, hey, we finally got that monkey off our back last year. Yeah, I wasn't surprised to see Kentucky play Florida tough, but Franks kind of helped because he would make bad decisions at really bad times.
Oh, Adam got jokes. Let's see. Yeah, you haven't talked about Alabama much tonight, Joel. This is your opportunity as we get close to the end of this thing. Anything they don't want me to talk about Alabama. Anything you'd like to? I know you said you'd never been to a game at Tuscaloosa. That you need to put that on your list. I can't stand Alabama. They're my most hated sports team. Period. Any sport. Period. It's Alabama. But I have to say, the first time I went to Tuscaloosa, I was literally in awe of that place. And,
I'd like to go there. It never worked out because Florida and Alabama don't play that often. I've seen Alabama play in Atlanta at the SEC championship game. It's just that Florida doesn't play Alabama in Tuscaloosa very often at all. So the opportunity to go to that game never really presented itself. But I've seen them play, 94, 96, 99, and then the 2 SEC Eastern Division championships under McElwain. So what would that have been, about 16 and 17, something like that? So I've seen Florida play Alabama a lot, but I've never been to Alabama. That's a heck of a football program. I mean, Saban's not – I talked about Les Miles being so much fun to talk to. Nick Saban, in my experience, has not been fun to talk to. He's so serious all the time.
He's an asshole. I'll say it.
Also a heck of a football coach.
Sure.
You don't win as much as he's won and not be good at it. I mean, think about the talent that guy had.
Still an asshole.
At one point, their backfield had 4 guys in it. Kenyon Drake, Alvin Kamara, TJ Yeldon, and I can't remember, and was it Ingram? They had 4 NFL starters in the same offensive backfield in the running back group. I mean, he just stocks that team with some amazing talent. And I think what's starting to catch up to him is he's losing so many assistants. Georgia took away Kirby Smart. You guys took away Jeremy Pruitt. This school took away that guy. This school took away that guy because they're trying to get those Alabama assistants, trying to get some of that Saban magic.
Somebody's trying to get the next Nick Saban, and that just not going to happen.
It doesn't always work. Same thing, look at the New England Patriots. How many assistants from Bill Belichick have gone on to be successful? Not very many. Belichick's what drives that team. Saban's what drives his team. And just because Jeremy Pruitt or Will Muschamp or Jimbo Fisher or Kirby Smart worked for Nick Saban, or one of your favorite guys, Lane Kiffin, just because they worked for Saban doesn't mean they are Saban. But you cannot deny the incredible run he has had at Alabama. They are the best.
Is it over?
I mean,
Your opinion?
what was that?
Is it over? Is the Bama run over in your opinion? I mean, clearly they're not going to suck anytime soon, but have we seen the last Bama national championship for a while?
I don't think so. I don't think we've seen the last Bama national championship. I mean, they got undressed by Clemson, and that's not a knock on Alabama. That's a tip of the hat to what Dabo Swinney and Clemson did in that national championship game. I don't think anybody saw that coming. But Alabama is still going to churn out some really good football teams. National champions? Probably not. Division champions? Well, they got beat by LSU last year. But what's LSU going to have this year with Joe Burrow and all those players gone? That's another guy that's a lot of fun, is Coach O. Can't understand what he says all the time, but he's a fun guy to hear at a press conference.
Did I miss? Hang on, I think I missed something. Oh no, okay, that was a long time ago. I thought I missed a super chat by Shane Bentley. Okay. Did I miss one? I don't like to miss any of those. People are kind enough to donate. You don't want to not acknowledge them like some of these asshats do on YouTube. Nope, it looks like I got them all. All right. Well, nobody in the comments has any burning questions that they feel like just can't go unanswered. I'm gonna call it a night, Joel. You
all
survived
right.
the whole 2 hours.
Yeah, you helped me kill 2 hours. That's been hard. I'm getting tired of playing my PlayStation. There's nothing to watch on TV. Yeah, it's.
I'll let you tell him.
This stuff soon.
I'll let you tell him NASCAR ball. Hang on a second. I'm sure you probably saw it anyway, but there you go. NASCAR ball says to tell you have a great mustache.
Yeah, this is my normally this time of year. Like I said, I'm a big hockey fan. I'll shave right before the playoffs start, and I'll grow my own playoff beard. This is my lockdown beard. I shaved about the time we went into lockdown, and what Florida calls it safer at home. Only go out if it's essential, things like that. So I'm going to see how scruffy this gets for a while. I've got some friends that are doing the same thing. They said, yeah, we're not shaving until we have to. So by the time this is all over, we're going to compare beards.
I hear you. Well, I'm going to let you go. I certainly appreciate it, Joel.
All right, I enjoyed it.
Welcome to come back anytime, and enjoyed the hell out of it like I knew I would. I hope everybody else enjoyed it. Stay in touch for sure.
Hopefully I'll have some more video to show you this fall.
Jesse Sullivan says, love your input, Joel. Thanks for the super chat, Jesse. Yeah, hopefully we'll have football this fall, and we'll get you back on here after the Tennessee-Florida game for sure. All right?
Yeah, and you asked about some more videos. I haven't done a whole lot of putting videos on YouTube, but I've been going through stuff here lately. Unfortunately, my hard drive that has a lot of football over the years on it doesn't want to work. So I got to get that thing up and running because there's a lot of good stuff there. But I've got some other stuff that I'll put up that I've shot over the years. Super Bowl. Like I said, I got a chance to go to London to an NFL game. That was a really cool experience. Super Bowl, national championship game. I've even done a space shuttle launch. And
nice.
Being a cameraman, you get to do a lot of things that most people don't get to do because they can't let everybody go. So they let me go so I can show everybody.
Right.
The space shuttle launch is one of the probably 3 coolest things I've ever done.
Oh, hell, I can imagine.
I mean, you watch it on TV, and the famous shot you see is of the countdown clock and the shuttle off in the distance. That's 3 miles from the pad. That's the media compound. And it's amazing 3 miles away how loud it is. I went down for a shuttle launch because, like I said, I work for the Marion County school system. One of our middle school science teachers was selected to be an astronaut. So naturally, when he goes up, I'm going to go down there and shoot the launch.
All right.
It's really weird. Sound travels at about 1,100 feet a second. It takes 5 seconds to go a mile. So 3 miles, it's 15 seconds before the sound of the rockets get to you. So you see this big plume of smoke go up, and you don't hear anything. All you can hear are the people cheering. And this shuttle starts to go up, and after 15 seconds, you hear this rumble. And at 3 miles, you almost want to cover your ears. It is so loud. But it is an unbelievable sight, unbelievable experience. And I grew up in Florida watching shuttle launches. I'm a sci-fi nerd. I can't wait until we start sending people up from Cape Canaveral again, just because if you ever get a chance, because people will go down and sit there on the beaches and watch, it is unbelievable. And I got to be closer than pretty much anybody that doesn't work for NASA. And that was an incredible experience. And one of a lot of them that I've had because I put a camera on my shoulder.
Yeah, I imagine that would be amazing. Joel, I appreciate it.
All right.
And we will talk to you shortly, my good man. And again, thanks for coming on here to a complete stranger's live stream and hanging out with us.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it.
All right, man. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right.
See you, bud. There you go. First time I've ever had talked to Jeff on here before. Maybe we'll have to get Jeff on here sometime and get his thoughts and everything. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's not very often we get to talk to somebody that hangs out on the sidelines for all of the SEC action at this particular school. Still think he's wrong about the Jabbar Gaffney catch. He probably thinks I'm wrong, but hey, he's a Florida fan. I'm a Tennessee fan. That's just the way it goes, right? But clearly a nice dude and good at what he does, and I enjoyed thoroughly having him on here. We'll do that again sometime. That's going to do it for me tonight. It's about 10 o'clock, close enough to 10 o'clock. My ass is hurting. I've been sitting in this chair for the better part of most of this day, so I'm going to have to get up and walk around. It was definitely not a Celine Driver catch. Celine Driver, it was definitely not a catch, but that's okay. You guys been knuckleheads in the comments tonight, but I'll let you guys fight it out. Hopefully you kiss and make up, and nobody got their feelings hurt too bad tonight. I appreciate everyone who super chatted tonight. I appreciate everyone who came in and did not troll. Appreciate everyone who came in tonight and did troll. You're all beautiful people. And I guess we're going to see you. What is this, Friday night? Damn. I guess we're going to see you Sunday night. Back here at 8 o'clock when me and my boy Carter come back and do it again. If you guys aren't social distancing, shame on you. If you are, good on you. This thing's got to end sometime. But for now, just try and stay as unbored as you can. What else are we going to do, right? No sports. No gathering in large groups. No making out with a total stranger in the park with 6 other people sitting around watching. So we got to do what we got to do. Have a good one, everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the warm weather if it's warm where you are. Hang in there if it's cold where you are and all that good shit. And we'll see you Sunday night. Go Vols. Screw y'alls.